doesn't struggle, but in the end, addiction's addiction, and the way you use something to cover up something, it's the same. Whether it's like one person's degree is worse than another's, it's the intention is the same. The what it does to your heart and your mind is the same.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Hannah Dawson. If you don't know me already, I'm owner and creator of Fitness Ministry, where I inspire women just like you to love the skin you're in through faith, fitness, and food. And I do this by 1, teaching you how to train with a purpose, 2, how to eat with a purpose, and 3, how to have faith through the process, because it is all about the process, you guys. So today's video is literally my vlog on why I've decided to not compete. I'm gonna kind of go into detail, you guys. Most of you that have been following me have followed my implant illness journey, and this is kind of an extension of that. And just my dog Poppy, come lay down, and just, you know, how much growth has happened since then, and I just want to be as open and as vulnerable with you guys as I can, because I have battled for sure. I've been in addiction of the worst kinds, and I've came out of them, and now I'm battling another one. And so I wanted to share that with you guys. Yeah, so I've been procrastinating doing this video, and just a part of me is like, you know, is there even any point? And I don't know if you guys listen to my podcast, Your Best Self, but I did an episode where I just talked about how we should share everything, and it's sharing our story, sharing our weaknesses is a part of us being generous with others, because our trials are someone else's treasures. And the things that we go through that, you know, we may have to remove some masks and be willing to be vulnerable, can shed light on someone's life and save them. And maybe some is to that extreme, and maybe some is just, you know, before they end up falling. And so that's what this story is, you guys. That's what this vlog series is that you're gonna hear. I'll tell you why it's gonna be a series. So I've decided to not compete, and this was really hard for me. This was really hard because there's finally a category for me. There's finally a category for my body type, and I thought, this is great. This is what's gonna make it easier. I get to be myself. I get to, you know, let my body does what my body does best. And it was great, and it was going great. And then, you know, there was triggers. There always has been triggers along the way. I'll kind of just backslide a little bit. 10 years ago, 10 years ago, literally today, or the Friday, I moved to Edmonton, and I moved, and I was highly addicted to drugs. I was in a lifestyle. If you've heard my story, you know all about it, and I'm not going to get into that, but you know, I had to deal with that, and I did, and God has brought me through it, and I am so blessed to not be, you know, a slave to addiction as far as alcohol and drugs anymore. And I feel, you know, blessed, but there's always things that are layers that we have to work on to why we even started that in the first place. And it's like an onion. I heard someone say, like, working on yourself is like an onion. There's always those there's always those layers. She likes to go into the blankets. She's like, I don't want to be on camera today. I don't want to be on camera today. Okay, mommy, I'll hide you. And there's always, you know, those things that, you know, when we pull back one layer, it reveals another. And I forget where it is in the Bible, but it was saying, when you demolish a wall, don't be surprised if you're bitten by a snake. And it was really powerful. It's a Proverbs or Psalms, I believe, but I'm going to find it and I'll put it in the show notes just so I can. I'm drinking my coffee. And you know, it can be like that too when we start tearing down walls that we've built up in our lives. There's going to be our demons, you know, those things that, you know, would like to hold us in these mindsets. And so mine has been an eating disorder. And for years, I was even afraid to say that I had that. I think I lied to myself. And it was just recently when I'm like, I have an eating disorder and I have to deal with this. And I may not look like a typical girl that has an eating disorder, but let me tell you, an eating disorder doesn't, like, it's not just until it starts affecting your exterior where you really notice someone's an anorexic or whatever. Eating disorder is a mental illness. It attacks your mind. It attacks your sight, your mind's eyes, and the way you see yourself. And it's a sickness at the core. It's like a cancer to your identity. And you know, my first, you know, it started probably when I was about 12 years old, my eating disorder. And it started in ways that, you know, my mom, you know, it got really bad, you know, my body matured really fast. And I had a really chaotic home, so I never really had that, you know, oh, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get your period and you have boobs. And, you know, I never really had anything to go off of. So I just felt like I didn't fit in. All the girls were stick thin and had no boobs. And I had these hips and I just felt out of place. I just felt like I was, you know, a minority. Like I just didn't look like the other girls. And so that, like, I didn't fit in their clothes, and all my friends were sharing clothes, and I couldn't fit into them. I had hips, I had a butt, and now that's amazing. But at that young age, I didn't see it as that. And so that's kind of when the eating disorder starts, and it never just goes full blown. It's always something that starts in a thought. It's something that gets triggered, and it either becomes full blown or it's something that progressively grows. It's like mold. And if you don't talk about it, if you don't get help for it, it is like mold. It grows in the dark. Everything that you keep in the dark and you don't tell people, it just gets fuzzy, stinky, smelly, and makes you feel rotten and sick and can eventually kill you. And so I've been battling this my whole life, and thank God, you know, fitness came into my life at a really young age. I was probably one of the few girls that actually went to the gym and was lifting weights and stuff, but it was healthy and extreme at the same time. And so the attention that I got from my body changing triggered that eating disorder again. I went up and down in my weight my whole life, but when I was young, it was when it really affected me. From probably when I was 12 to 13, I had gained a lot of weight because your hormones change, and when you're still eating like kids do and they like their sweets, I gained a lot of weight. And so it got out of control to the point where I was eating my food and then I was binging and purging, sorry. And my mom caught me, and you know, thank goodness, you know, I had told a friend too at school, and they told the school principal and stuff. So I had lots of support that way. They caught it early on. I had a counselor. I had a lady introduce me to fitness that was a teacher in the school, and they had a gym. I never even knew what fitness was at that point. So that was the beginning of it, and that was good because it started making me aware of what healthy was and what you know, just being aware of the choices that I was making. Like, probably drinking a Slurpee every day isn't the healthiest choice. And so she taught me a lot about choices. She taught me about exercise, and then I went to the eating disorder clinic where they're specialized in, you know, I wasn't a full-blown anorexic, but it was there. The sickness had started, and it went into remission, I'm gonna say, for a bit, because after that, you know, I got really into the gym. Like I said, if you guys know my story of fitness, was that thing that was a safe haven for me. It was an escape for me. And it turned into an escape, something that was healthy for me, to something that was excessive and addictive. So that's when the eating disorder kind of was, it was dormant, but it was there. It was like this undercurrent that eventually pulled me under. And I never, you know, I grew up with a mom. She did drugs and alcohol, and so I was around that, but I never really got into that until I moved to Vancouver. And the first time I tried drugs was because one of my friends was doing ecstasy all the time, and she lost so much weight. And I wanted to be skinny so bad. I just thought if I was skinny, if I looked a certain way, that it would just be the best. Like, I used to dream about having a six-pack, but I used to also dream and wake up in night terrors of eating too much food, and I'd wake up with night sweats and start feeling my stomach and pinching my fat on my stomach, and I would just I had constant anxiety, which led me to wanting to eat more because I felt stressed, and I was never a fat girl, but I was chubby. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I know that now. And I'm working through it. But I was dying to be skinny. I was dying to be this certain thing, this certain girl that got approval when she was in high school for losing so much weight and got so much attention, that sparked something in me that felt approved. And so when I wasn't that weight, I felt disapproved. I disapproved myself. My validation came from the way others see me, and I thought it was only on my weight, because when I lost weight, I got tons of validation, and so when I gained weight, I felt super out of control. It was the one thing in my life I could control. I couldn't control my mom getting sober. I couldn't control if she's going to be home one day. I couldn't control if our cable was going to get turned off. I couldn't control if we were going to be kicked out of our house. I couldn't control, you know, if I was sexually abused. I couldn't control anything in my life, but my body I could control. And so when I felt so out of control, and I would gain a little bit of weight, it was like everything came crashing down. Like, what is wrong with me? Why can't, you know, everything sucks. Why can't this be the one thing that I can control? And so it was this thing that this image distortion just distorted from a young age. You know, I wish I would have had, you know, more counseling. I wish that the counselors only wouldn't have just led me in the area of exercise and nutrition. I wish they would have sat down with me and talked about my identity and who I was as a person. But you know what? We do the best we can with the knowledge that we have, and that's why I want to share my story, because there's someone that's going to watch this one day, one young girl, or maybe you're my age, or maybe, you know, you're just figuring out who you are, and that you've let image distortion take over, and you've let, you know, this identity that you think that you need to be, that is not even a part of you, take over. And that is why I share my story. And so I started drugs at a young age to get skinny. I wanted to be skinny so bad, and I thought, if you can do ecstasy and cocaine and that suppresses your appetite, I'm in. And that's sad, but it was, and he had a good time on it. But what I didn't realize was, for as high as you get even lower, and it took me down, and the addiction took me down, and it led me down very dark paths. And I'm not going to get into my story because I've shared my story a lot. So if you want to hear my story, you can go to other videos or go to my podcast where I've kind of shared my whole story. Back to deciding to not compete. I don't know when the flip switched, and I think that for years on and off from my first competition was when it really got out of control. I found that I would be getting bloated all the time, so I started taking laxatives. like laxative teas. You know, there's the diet teas and the balanced teas, and there's this new one called, it's all over Instagram. It's a detox tea, and you take one every night. Well, let me tell you, that is an eating disorder in a box. That is asking for girls to have an eating disorder. And so it just, you know, I found that I would use it to de-bloat. Sometimes I would take it at night, and then was getting to the point where like I would binge on food that I felt guilty about, so then I would take it. It didn't become about a detox anymore. It was a way of me purging, not through my mouth, but taking a laxative to get rid of everything. And then it just got obsessive. Then it got to every single night I would take like 5 to 10 pills. I would try every different type of cleansing pills or whatever had senna or laxatives, and I would take it. And it was like this big, deep, dark secret. But, you know, I knew that it was out of control. And then, you know, after my first competition, you know, I realized, you know, I told my husband, I'm struggling like this. I'm struggling with this. I don't like know what to do. I feel like it's got a grip on me. I know that this is an eating disorder, whether people want to talk about it or not. It is an eating disorder. And so I got help, and I remember one day at a time, God just said, take this one day at a time. And I remember taking it one day at a time, and I got better. And then after I got my implants, it all started back up again, because you guys, image distortion feeds on image distortion. There's not one that's more severe than the next. They all feed. And once you tap into one of them, everything becomes distorted. The decisions you make become distorted. They become unhealthy. You can't just have one part of image distortion in this area of your life and not in all the areas. It literally is like mold, and it starts taking over everything. And you know, after I got my implants, when I got the sickness from them and I decided to get them removed, that was great, but it really unraveled a lot of other things. Like I said, like that onion just being pulled up, and you know, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna compete again because I don't have implants. And that was my thing, you know, oh, I don't have implants, I'm all me this time, I'm all myself. But it just took over again, and I just was so obsessed with the number on the scale, and I was so obsessed about food, and that's all I thought about all day long was what I could eat and what I couldn't eat, and why isn't my weight going down? And food became this punishment pleasure type thing. And then, you know, it became really exhausting, overwhelming. I thought, I'm just going to get through this competition and I'll be done. And I don't know how I ended up signing up for another competition, but I signed up with Helen, and she's a great coach. And it was great in the beginning. And then all of a sudden, it's like any addiction. It's like any alcoholic or addict that stops drinking for a while and then thinks that they can just have one drink. All right, guys, so I'm going to show you a little clip. Just kind of, I was starting to vlog my journey, and I wanted to share it a long time ago, but I thought I was just a mess. I was crying, but I just want to show you, I knew it was there, but I didn't really know it was there, the eating disorder. I just thought, why can't I get a handle on my food? But it wasn't about food at all. It was about this image distortion in my mind. It was about body dysmorphia. And you're going to see that through watching this little vlog that I had done one morning when I just had it. I just was very emotional, and I just feel like I need to share it with somebody, that someone needs to see this. I don't know why. So I'm just going to share the little clip with you. It's 7 minutes. Don't have to feel free to watch the whole thing, but this is the emotions that I was going through. And if you're going through them too, maybe that's just a sign that whatever you're pursuing is not, that you need help, and that it's okay to need help, and that help, to reach out for help it's hard, but to know that you're not weak, and it doesn't make you less of a human being that you're struggling, that it actually takes a strong person to reach out. So I'm going to show you just a little clip. This was from November. I thought this didn't start till December, but clearly I was struggling way before. So bear with me as I just pour out my tears before you guys. All right, see you soon. I've had a really tough week.
mentally, and just really struggling to be consistent and be kind to myself. I've been really, really mean to myself lately, and I'm struggling, you guys. I keep comparing myself to these other fitness people, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna get my legs and my butt to tie in like that, and feeling this panic feeling. And I know for people looking at me, go, what do you have to be worried about? And it's not that there's anything wrong with me. It's my mindset, you guys. It's how did it spiral? It happens, and it happens by, sometimes just that one thing, and it just feeds and on another, and you just start spiraling. And so I was listening to Ed Milet interviewing Chris and Heidi Powell, and I bawled and bawled and bawled, because I realized why I'm feeling like this is because I'm my lack of integrity to myself, saying things that I'm gonna do and not following through with them. And food has always been an outlet for me, and so I'm just super struggling with, this balance with eating healthy and like competing, but, not turning to food like a drug. And I just think, how do people have it together with food? How do some people just not have issues with food? I just want this to go away. I don't want to feel like, oh, I could never intermittent fast, or I could never not eat that. Like, my mind psychologically goes like, like, there's no way you can cut that out. There's no way, even if I don't tell people, I'm into things that will not make me feel good the next day. But in the moment, it's like a release. Because, there's all these things going on that I'm having to be out of my comfort zone and so many different things. And I think that's just my way of, like, escaping. And then it doesn't make me feel good. And maybe it's not that bad to the person that doesn't struggle, but in the end, addiction's addiction. And, the way you use something to cover up something, it's the same. Whether it's like one person's degree is worse than another's, it's the intention is the same. The what it does to your heart and your mind is the same. And just wanting certain things so bad, and it just feels like every area is like a struggle and a battle. My business growing, a business being out of my comfort zone, going to pursue this competition and announcing, to the world my dreams, then feeling like, what did I just do? Like, now I've held myself to this. What if I don't accomplish it? And then, just starting a podcast and sharing my story, and something that I haven't shared, and just being so vulnerable that way, and thinking it doesn't affect me, but it has affected me. Because then when I have days like this, I think, man, what are you doing? Like, what are you pursuing? And I just start feeling that shame from a little girl, and all of these things that start just piling up and piling up.
And yeah, they may be able to the first couple times, but then they can't control it anymore. Then it's got a grip. Addiction is addiction. It doesn't matter what it is. Addiction is all the same. There's not one that's more severe than the other. It all does the same thing to your mind and to your brain. It does. I don't care who you are. If you want to argue with me, addiction is addiction. If you have an addictive personality, if you've had an eating disorder, you should not ever compete in competitions. That's just a fact. You shouldn't. It's too obsessive, it's too numbery, it's too external, it's too much vanity. You know, and I should have known this, but I got consumed again. I got consumed with, you know, that this could be my dream, that this was the thing that was going to help people see me better in my industry. That if I, you know, I became an IFBB pro, and like, oh, in my category, like I had my mindset and my heart set on doing this competition, my mindset, I should say, but my heart wasn't set. It was conflicting with who I was, who God has made me to be, in my identity. And when things are conflicting with your values and your beliefs, you'll never be able to be successful at it, because you have to, your heart has to be in it, you have to believe it, you have to trust it, you have to be focused on it. It has to be a part of who you are and who you've called to be. And if it isn't, then it's going to do what it did to me. And you know, things were going great, and I've got my online training. I hope this is making sense. I have my online training programs, my fit club, my business, and I love those women. And I honestly, like, it's probably through helping them that I started to see my own issues, from motivating them to saying things that I knew that were my beliefs and values that was coming out to them, that started to conflicting with the path that I was taking. And it was getting to December. My coach said, you know, Hannah, we're going to start dieting you in December. And so I thought, okay, whatever, this is great. It's going to be over Christmas. I can do this. And I met with her, and she's like, I'm old school. We don't do any cheats. There's no cheat meals. You have to eat exactly what's your plan. If it's not on there, you don't eat it. You guys, everything just went to shit after that. I could not seem to, something in my mind flipped. So a switch flipped. I binged every single day. I don't think I stuck to my meal plan once. I was binging at night. I ate a whole pie once. I was so consumed, and I was so stressed out. And maybe the first week, I think I lost a pound, and then I just started gaining weight, and I just couldn't seem to get a grip on it. And I was so miserable. I'm like, okay, maybe it's just Christmas, and I can get this. But I just felt like I was like a truck spinning my wheels and stuck in mud, and I just couldn't seem to get myself out. And so, you know, it's the end of Christmas, and I'm just feeling wiped. I'm starting to feel depressed. We launched the Bikini Body program in the Fit Club, and I just wanted to work out with them and do the workouts that I've created that I love and feel good. And I was finding I was dreading going to the gym. I was dreading this meal plan because I couldn't stick to it. I couldn't stick to eating this way. I couldn't not cheat. There was no breathing room. I felt like so claustrophobic because there was underlying issues that I had never dealt with. And I'm not saying that competing is bad. That's not what I'm saying. So don't take that away. My coach is great. But for me, I couldn't do it anymore. And I was at my breaking point, and I just heard this thought in my head. And I know that it was God. He was saying, at any moment you can change direction. This is your life. If you are not happy where you are, you can change direction. And at that moment I thought, you know what? I thought I wanted to do this, but it's not bringing out the best in me. It's bringing out eating disorder behaviors, and eating disorder that I never really dealt with, that I never really admitted to myself. It's coming up on 10 years that I moved here, and I've kicked, you know, drugs and alcohol. And I just felt like, you know, I've kicked, kind of got rid of my implants and dealt with that part of it. But I felt like God saying, we need to deal with this part of it. It's time. We need to deal with your relationship with food, your relationship with yourself. We need to deal with this. Whatever it is, because an addiction is just your addiction is not the source. The addiction is the coping mechanism. It is not, you don't have the addiction because you just have the addiction. There's a driving force behind it. There's a pain point that you're trying to cover up with whatever that is for you. And I know that. And so I decided to not compete, and I was so scared because I had all these women, and maybe you're watching it now and you're one of the women that have reached out to me and said like how inspiring it was that a Christian, that I believe in God and I am putting God first, and that I'm competing and I've inspired you to compete, and that is amazing and I'm so happy for you. So don't take on my stuff. But if you have any of my symptoms, I'm asking you to pray about it, to ask God to bring it before him, because at the end of the day, we are given one life, and to live that life obsessed about hitting a certain number, looking a certain way physically, we've missed the point. We've missed our mark. We've missed our calling. And I said to my husband, I said, I can't live my life like this anymore. I have these most amazing girls. I'm married, I'm clean and sober, and I don't want this to have a hold of me anymore. And unfortunately, competing is not helping me right now. It is hindering me. It is a driving force behind me to be obsessive about these things. So I'm going to have to let go of my ego, let go of my pride, be vulnerable, to be open with people and say, you know what, I can't compete. I'm not strong enough to compete at the moment, and I'm a strong person. I know that. But it is a driving force behind image distortion for me right now. And I don't want that in my life, and I'm in control and I am strong. So I'm saying no. No, I will not live like that anymore. I don't want it in my life anymore. And if God does decide to bring it back into my life later on when I'm stronger, well then so be it. But right now it's not good. So the hardest part was telling my coach that I didn't want to compete. I just said, I'm just struggling and I just can't do it. I'm dealing with eating disorder behaviors. I'm getting really depressed about it because I can't seem to follow this. And so I need to love myself in this moment and just say no, that this is not working for me. That this is not working for me right now, that I have to put myself first, and I have to practice what I preach. And I preach, to be your best self. And what is that? My best self isn't competing in a competition. My best self, is leading by example, is making those tough decisions. Those decisions that go against my ego and my pride, that say, the world wants pretty. The world wants perfection. And by saying no to that, I felt like I was going against the current a little bit. Just like, well, now what? Now what am I going to do? But you know what? At the end of the day, I think that my hopes and my dreams is to always be a leader that leads with truth. And I have to live that truth. And if I'm going to be a transformation coach, I have to have gone through a transformation. Because, and it's funny, God spoke this to me the other day too. He said, you're as sick as the people that lead you. And so, or you're as healthy as the people that lead you. And so what I mean by that is, you're not going to go to someone that's in debt for financial advice. Someone that's bad with money, because they're not going to be able, they're going to lead as they know how. And it's probably not going to be very good wisdom. If someone has Botox and implants and that's for them, and they've got an underlying eating disorder, are they going to be able to tell you how to love yourself and be you and be okay with being you? No. Because they have a sickness of their own that they need to work on first before they can lead. And that's just the way it is. An alcoholic cannot be your what do we call it in AA? Sponsor. You have to have some years of sobriety under you. And when it comes to image distortion, you need to have some sobriety in that area. You need to have some healing. You need to have some masks removed. You have to go through the process of peeling them away, of learning what that is, of learning who God has called you to be before you can ever lead people that way. And that is my dream, you guys. Mainly God put that dream in my heart. But I have a pretty big influence, and I never wanted to be a false teacher. And I think at the moment it came to a point when it was like, I'm looking at all these women and they're in the industry that I want to be in. And I don't know how they stay so flippin' lean all the time. I don't. And maybe it's natural and maybe it's not. And I don't know, but I'm killing myself trying to look like them. Sickness number one. Comparison. And so I don't know if the person that I'm staring at and wanting to look like has issues of their own. I never, part of me wanted to be that teacher that would do any means necessary to look a certain way to sell herself for income, right? It's prostitution in a whole other form. These fitness women, you don't know what steroids they're taking, what fat burners they're jacked on, what eating disorders that they have. They look amazing, but you don't see the sickness behind the mask. And you could be striving, why can't I look like that? And so down on yourself when it's like they've got a sickness of their own and you're striving. You may think that you're striving for that body, but for some reason, all you're getting from that is the sickness that they have. Right? Because we're only as sick as the people that lead us. We're only as healthy as the people that lead us. And so I felt like God really saying to me, I said, I have these amazing Fit Club women that are in my Fit Club. I have these amazing clients and I want to tell them that they can do this, and they can get their bodies to this because it is the healthy way, because it is true, because it is proven. I never ever want to be this person that is, taking steroids, taking laxatives, doing any means necessary. I look ripped and it's like, yeah, look like me, do this, and this. And people are like killing themselves trying to look as that way, but they can never achieve that. And that is a false leader. And I never, ever want to be a false leader to you guys. Ever, ever, ever. I have to go through the process. And I've been battling this eating disorder since I've been 12 years old. And I am saying right now, it is enough. I am finally verbalizing that this has been an issue for me, that I need to deal with it. If this has been something that you're dealing with, I don't care if you only use laxatives or whatever your means is to feel unbloated, whatever you're doing. Maybe it's drugs. Maybe you party once in a while on the weekend so that you suppress your appetite. Whatever it is, I don't know whatever that you're going through, but I know it's all the same. So the only way to break free from it is to verbalize it, to share with someone that can help you, because when you bring it into the light, the darkness loses its power over you. And so I battled this, you guys. I battled the lies of the enemy telling me if I told this, I would lose my authority. And that is a lie. I struggle. I am human. I love fitness. I believe in fitness. I love eating healthy food, but I want to do it right. And I want to teach you how to do it right. And these are things that people are not talking about. Buy diet teas. There's diet teas everywhere. Do not do diet teas, okay? They have a laxative in them called senna, and it is not to be taken for more than 7 days in a row, or it causes intestinal issues. You start losing your muscles in your bowels, so you'll just end up pooping your pants. And it's not funny. It sounds funny. It's not funny. Your guts get so twisted and messed up that your body can't even absorb nutrients anymore. So you feel things like really tired and lethargic, depressed, anxious. Those are things that it causes. you know, it's not just going to cause physical issues, it causes mental issues the most. And so unless you reach out and get help, and that's why I'm telling my story today, you guys, I'm telling it because it's not a sexy story. It's not a pretty, like, what our world wants to see right now. This is the truth. And I'm not the only one struggling with this. And I'm speaking up about it. And yeah, so I told my coach that I'm not competing. And I felt like this instant relief, but I also heard God say, okay, now we need to deal with the issue. Just because you're not competing doesn't mean that you can ignore whatever you were doing before and this issue with food and stuff. So you guys, I have my first appointment next Tuesday with an eating disorder psychologist. That's what she specializes in. She's Christian too. So she doesn't just specialize in, you know, the psychology part of it, but also the spiritual aspect of it. And I think that's really important for all you that are listening, is that it's not just a physical part of it. It's not just a brain thing. There's actually spiritual attachments to it. It is a sickness. It is a distortion. It is it's literally attacking you to take you away from your purpose and your calling. And it's funny, and I'm going to finish up with this, you guys. I don't want to take too long, and I will be vlogging this journey, going through this, you guys. And you can leave all your comments in the show notes. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell if you want to be notified when I do upload new videos for this series. Back to what I was talking about. Oh, no, I lost my train of thought. What was it? That's what it was. I remember taking a shower, and I get all my best thinking done in the shower for some reason, and that's usually when I pray and spend time with God, is when I'm showering. And I remember God going, Hannah, this is a distraction. You are getting so distracted with the number on the scale, with how your body's supposed to look, with what you're eating, that you're missing. You're missing the calling. You're missing my voice. You're missing what you're intended to do. And I heard this, and I've been hearing this for a couple years now, you guys. And I thought, man, it's a distraction. When you are at war, and you guys, we are at war. The Bible says that our war is not physical, but it is spiritual, of pulling down strongholds, and that starts in your mind. And I felt like God saying, when you're at war, the enemy will put up distractions to take your eyes off whatever, so he can take you out. And so whoever's watching this, you're watching this for a reason. I believe that God has made you watch this, that he's called your heart to watch this, and that there's something that he's wanting to work on with you. And I believe that you have an amazing calling on your life, and there's something very, very powerful. That is why you are struggling with this. And there's healing. There's so much healing. And that if you would just give this to him, that if you would just talk to somebody that you love and trust, and deal with this, that there's going to be so much strength and healing. That lie, you have to ignore those lies. You have to speak against the lies that say, you know, if you're going to lose control, you're not going to lose control. God is going to bless you tenfold. He's never going to ask you to let go of something that he won't replace with something greater, something bigger, something stronger, something more powerful. The light is always more powerful than the darkness. Always. Just a little tear, a little door open, just a little bit under the crack of the door. If there's light, it shines in. There's nothing that the light cannot get through. So I want you to know that whatever you're going through right now, if this is it, if you're going through what I'm going through, I'm praying for you. Don't lose hope. Share it. Let the light in so it loses its power over you guys. Literally the minute that I told my husband that I'm struggling with this, I told a really close friend that hooked me up with a psychologist. I told my mom. And then I thought, you know, I need to share with you guys. Because I love you guys, and I want to be as vulnerable and transparent as I can, because I'm a human being, and this is stuff we go through. It is not all pretty pictures like Instagram. It is not all pretty bodies like Instagram. Behind those pretty bodies, there's distortions. And I'm saying that behind me, there has been distortions. I am bringing before the kingdom of heaven, that I am laying before the throne of God and saying, I surrender because I can't do this anymore. I need your help. And I'm letting you know that that's what I have to do. That's what we all have to do. So you guys, that is all this video is about. Thank you for tuning in today. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Leave your comments in the show notes. Email me. I can be that person if you are needing someone to reach out to. I can give you the name of the lady that I'm seeing, the Christian psychologist, as it is video counseling psychology. So that's really great. I love that idea. So I can give that to you if you send me an email. But this is the beginning of my next journey of breaking image distortion, you guys. This is it. I'm done with it. I'm ready. I'm saying, God, I'm yours. You can use me as much as you want. I will share everything. I hold nothing back. There's no shame here. I'm a human being. I struggle. I know you're struggling, and I hope that, and I know that whatever I spoke today, whoever's watching this, that this was meant for you, that God is saying, I love you, and I want to see you live and become that woman that I created you to be, because you are royalty. You are from the kingdom of heaven. You have been royalty, and there's a war going on, whether you can see it or not, but you're feeling it in your mind. You're battling whatever those battles are, whatever those strongholds, those limiting beliefs are. That means you are in war, and you need to fight with the only tool, the only weapon that will win, and that's the word of God, and that is going to God, and that is going before his throne in the name of Jesus. And when you do that, power will be released. That those strongholds, those chains will be broken. I believe that. I speak that over you right now in Jesus' name. I speak that over myself, and I love you all, and I will see you again in a couple weeks after I do my first session. I'll share you guys with that, how that's going to go. I just quickly want to add in here too that, that the minute that I told my coach that I wasn't going to compete, that when I told my husband, Kay, and I made that decision to God, like, Kay, God, I surrender this to you. Forgive me. This is what I've been dealing with. I need your help. I started to see even my eating in a whole new way, my food in a whole new way. It already started losing its grip on me, and I'm so grateful to God for that. So I'm going to be as open and honest with you guys about everything that I can. I love you all. Oh, geez. I ate too many vegetables. Anyways, have an amazing day, you guys. Love you all. Bye.